used to work in leasing offices for about 10 to 15 years. Our CEO used to be the vice president of Realtor.com. And back then that was the biggest online real estate company before Zillow. Our guys, our founders, they're guys who, one, know what apartment complexes and property staff need to better run their systems, but two, they know a lot of the complaints that come from residents and the needs that the residents have, right? Our job here, our mission, is to, one, help you better automate your everyday life, give you a little bit of convenience without changing things too much, right? I like to look at the system as added convenience. Not much is going to change. Maybe the biggest change will be your lock, and I'll get to that real soon. But everything else really can stay the same, or it could be pretty different depending on how you want it to be for you. Right? And I could give you options, and I could just give you the whole package. Okay. I like to start off the presentation talking about the lock. I think that's the big thing that's going to change. Real quickly, this is what it looks like. Okay, this is a Yale Smart Lock. It comes from a very famous lock manufacturer, the oldest lock manufacturer in the United States, actually. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like on the outside. The first thing that you'll probably know is that, what is it? It's a black slab, not really much to look at. You'll be losing your keys. Okay, so that's the benefit of this lock, keyless entry. All right. On the inside, it's pretty simple. It's your typical thumb switch. I don't expect you to ever be locked inside your home, right? So I like to give demos. So let's do a little bit of role play. Okay. Hi. I'll be cycling through this presentation multiple times, but please feel free to have some food. Let's say in the morning, you're going to go to work. You're going to look at your door. You're going to unlock it and let it close behind you. So this lock does not auto-lock, okay? It depends on you to lock your door. It won't act like a hotel door. And how you lock your door is very, very simple. All you need to do is you need to put your hand on the keypad. And it's just like that, and it will lock. Okay? Show that one more time. Your door is unlocked. You put your hand on the keypad, and it unlocks. So it's the same kind of contact that you would make with your smartphone if you have a smartphone. It's not biometric. It won't take your fingerprint. It just takes really the heat from your hands. Okay? So to unlock your door, it's pretty simple. It's pretty much the same step. You wake the screen up with your hand. It'll give you this numbered keypad. Everyone will have a 4-digit code that you would put in here, followed by the check mark. You have about 10 seconds before it tells you time expired. But let me demo that real quick. The code for this lock is 1212. So I'll put 1212, check mark, and it unlocks. Very simple. It does give you a few bits of feedback on how you know it unlocks and locks, right? One, it makes a noise. It gives you that ring. It flashes the screen as well, so both audibly and visually it'll let you know when you lock and unlock your door. Right. So any questions so far on the lock?
How many people can operate it?
How many people?
Yeah.
I would say unlimited people who know the codes to the lock, right? So very quick background, the codes, there will only be codes per unit, per leaseholder or lease signer, right? So anybody who's a lease signer in a given unit will have their own specific code, okay? It's always gonna be a 4-digit code. We're looking into making it maybe 6 digits as an option in the future, but right now it's a 4-digit code. It is a completely random code. Unfortunately, you cannot pick your own code. The reason for that, that's one of the first things we used to let people do early on in our little career. But we found out that a lot of people would put very simple codes like 1111, 1234, something like that, or even your birthday. And I'm sure you're not the only one who knows your birthday. we want it to be as secure as possible for you guys, right? So the way we do that is we make it completely random. Now, I do want to talk about app integration. So these are all smart devices, which I'll go through the function of all of them. And what makes them smart is when they communicate to you, to the property staff in certain elements, which I will go through. And the way they communicate to you is if you have a smartphone, you can download an app that basically lets you control these devices from anywhere. You can be in Australia and control it, right? It's just a little bit of criteria that most people these days have. Now, if you don't have a smartphone, if you're not that technically savvy, if you don't care for it, everything will still work independently. Most of these things are battery powered, especially the lock. So you won't have to worry. Let's say I'm from Miami, so I know a lot about power outages because of hurricanes. I'm sure it happens here too, right? So if the grid goes down, your lock will still work because it's independently powered by batteries, right? So on the inside of your lock, and here in this black part in the inside, there are 4 AA batteries. Phillips head screwdriver, really easy to replace, but it's not your responsibility to replace, right? This being a smart lock and it has a few bits of communication that I mentioned before, one of the things that it communicates to you, but as well as the property staff, is its battery life. Right? So on average, the battery life of the lock is about a year, and at 50%, it pings you. It gives you a notification. And it also gives the same notification to the staff, right? Lets them know, hey, my battery's at 50%, I got 6 more months of life left. Might need a change. So it being a smart lock and our smart system, our integration, it creates a work order for the maintenance staff to come in and change the batteries, right? So you don't have to worry about that. And that's 6 months. Let's say that the maintenance staff is a little busy and they can't get to it right away. Still 6 months, but at 25%, so 3 more months, they'll get a little bit more urgent message, and you will as well. But visually, at 25% on your lock, every day you will use it, there will be a little red battery icon on the bottom right that will basically say, hey, low battery. So really, someone's got to drop the ball for a long time for this lock to go out of power, right? Now, if it does go out of power in the far off chance, and I can tell you it has never happened before, and we're in over 29,000 units right now, in the far off chance, what do? I'm locked out of my house, this thing won't come on, it's out of battery, right? Well, on the bottom of the outside keypad, there are 2 pins, pretty hard to see from here. If you've ever seen a 9-volt battery before, one of those rectangular batteries, you would just put it to those pins, it will jump the screen, it'll wake it up, and you can put in your code to get it. At that point, I recommend changing your batteries, but jumping it with the 9-volt battery will not unlock the door, it will just wake up your keypad so you can put your own code in. Right? Any questions so far? Great. So a little bit more features. I did mention the app, right? We're going to give you an app. It's going to be called SmartRent. It's going to let you control the lock, the thermostat, visually see some of your other devices, which I'll go through. You can, let's give some examples of conveniences that you can have with the app, right? Let's say you're sitting on your couch and you're expecting somebody and someone knocks on the door. You can just get on your phone and unlock the door. You're at work, you're expecting someone to be at your door, maybe let them in, maybe it's a relative, a friend, whatever. Instead of giving them your own code, which I want you guys to treat your codes like your own key, you wouldn't give your own key away to anybody. You can just remotely lock and unlock your door, right, from your phone. That is a little bit of laziness. I think it's an acceptable level of laziness, but it's part of the convenience, right? Any questions on the level? I know there's a lot of people who showed up after the fact. We have a lot of food there that hasn't been touched at all, and I really need it to be eaten. But I will be circling through this presentation more than once, so you don't got to worry if you've missed anything so far. Okay?
When is this supposed to go into?
When? Great question. So when are we installing these products in? Right now, our scheduled start date is the 17th of May, so in about 2 weeks. Typically on that day, we don't touch any occupied units. We do a few test units to see how fast we can go, to see the quality of the unit itself, like door quality, locations of where we're putting these products into specific units. And then the following week, we will start noticing for occupied units. You all will be receiving 48-hour notices before entry. If when you receive those notices it doesn't work with your schedule, we're really good with scheduling things out. Just let your property team know, they'll let us know, and we'll try to work with you guys. Alrighty? So, I'm gonna circle back on the lock, but I'm gonna move on. Right now I'm gonna go into the thermostat. If anybody has questions, please feel free to stop me. So my thermostat, actually when I opened my suitcase, I flew in this morning. It was cracked. I think TSA was throwing my bag around or something, but it's not the prettiest thing, but I can easily explain the thermostat. It's a very simple thermostat. It's not gonna be much different from the one that you have now. Really, the difference is it's touchscreen at this point, right? Now, it does have a lot of conveniences to it. Again, if you use the app, if you use it very smartly, it can be a great benefit to you, even to your wallet. Okay, so this is what it'll look like minus the cracks. In the middle of it, it's gonna have just the current temperature, and it's gonna have a plus and minus sign to the left and the right. So plus sign, you'll raise the temperature, minus sign, you'll lower the temperature. Really simple. It's gonna have modes on the bottom, so you could change the mode to heat, to cool, to off. And then on the other side of the bottom side, right side, is the fans. You can turn the fan on, you can leave it on auto, circulation off, whatever. Very basic thermostat. Again, all it is touchscreen at this point. Nothing too crazy. The biggest benefit is the use of the app, right? Again, you don't ever have to get up and touch your thermostat ever again if you're using the app. You can be in bed, you could be very comfortable. Ever been comfortable in bed and you felt like it's too cold or too hot and you have to get up, get out of your sheets and change the thermostat? That's convenience right there. But the biggest convenience is being able to turn it off when you're not at home. I would say HVAC units, AC units use the most power in your home, and it causes your utility bills to be very high or very low, depending on how you're using it. If you're using the app and you know no one's at home, you could just turn it off remotely. You can turn it on if you're expecting to be home in a few minutes, so it'll cool down by the time you're home. But we have a lot of feedback from residents that we've installed in, and again, we're in over 29,000 units, that they've been able to save $5 to $15 per month on their utility bills because they're using this very efficiently. And it's not something that you can do today because of all your manual thermostats and whatnot, right? I think that is our biggest convenience when it comes to thermostats. Do we have any questions?
So you're installing that plus the key?
Yeah, we're installing 5 products, all in the same day. Installations take about 20 minutes to maybe 45 minutes. Has a few factors involved. Everything communicates to each other, so we have a process called pairing, which I'll talk a little bit about. And then really depending on the quality of your given doors, if the door needs a little bit of work before we put the lock on, those are the things that can cause our installation times to run a little slower. Right? But we shouldn't take more than an hour in a given unit. Questions? Again, guys, I know some of you guys came in a little later. I'll be circling through the presentation more than once. I have a lot of food. No one's touching it. Please keep my food. All right, so the next thing, I think it's my favorite thing, is this. If you think about a smoke alarm, this is pretty much a smoke alarm, but for leaks. This is a water sensor. We will be putting 2 of these in every unit, and they will be placed in areas that are susceptible to leaks. Typically, HVAC units, water heaters, washer dryers, under your kitchen sink, things like that. I don't expect you guys to be checking under your kitchen sink every day for leaks, but some of you guys might know leaks do the most damage over time, and that's what this is here for. It catches them as they happen. What this would do is we would mount this very discreetly. You'll probably never see it on the wall, let's say under your kitchen sink. This has a tail that will extend to the ground, and if this ever gets into contact with any kind of moisture, it will go off. It will have an audible beep, but most importantly, it will wirelessly communicate to you guys, hey, there's a leak at so-and-so location. It will also communicate to the staff, just like the batteries do, right? It will communicate to the staff that there's also a leak, and that it creates an automatic work order for them to address it. Leaks, again, they do a lot of damage over time. It could really ruin floorboards. If you're on a top unit, it could ruin your neighbor's units right under you, right? So if you can catch it as it happens, this is pure asset protection. I think it's my personal favorite. Leaks cause a lot of funky damage. Any questions on this?
Battery operated, it's
Battery
same system, they'll
Yes.
tell the front office.
Exactly. It's battery operated. The battery in here lasts about 3 years. Okay. Great question.
So does the office get notified when that goes down, or?
Yes, yes. So anything that runs on battery, they are smart enough to notify you if you're using the app of the current battery life, and then if they're running low, the staff will know and they'll come in and change it. Again, I'll be circling through that process again for those who have missed it. Alrighty, any questions on the water sensors? Great. So this one right here, this is a smart plug. It's a very simple product. You plug it into an outlet, and then you plug whatever appliance you want to it, and you'll be able to control it with the app on and off, right? You can get pretty creative with it. Most people put lamps, turn on the light on and off. You don't have to get up. My personal favorite use of it is I plug a coffee machine to it. When I wake up, I get on my phone, I press a button, and it starts the coffee as I'm getting ready, right? You could get pretty creative. But it's a real simple product, on and off. I like to compare it to the clap on, clap off thing in the early 90s. Not crazy. Any questions on this? I think the most commonly asked question about this is how many are you getting? You're getting one. We can definitely sell you guys more, but that's what UDR paid for, one per unit. All right. But definitely, if you get more than one of these, it can make your home pretty convenient. So, the last product, before I move back to the lock, is this. This is probably the most important product to have to make sure everything is working together in terms of convenience. This is a hub. I like to compare it to the brain, right? This is the brain of every single product you're getting. I mentioned before, you'll have an app. For the app to work, this always needs to be on, okay? This is the only product besides the smart plug. With the smart plug, you have to plug it into the wall. This is the only product that does not run on battery. It has a reserve battery so that if you're changing the location, it doesn't go off, but it does need to be plugged into an outlet. We provide splitters, you won't lose an outlet space, right? This is basically a point of communication for all your products. Let's say, again, you're on the couch and you're changing the thermostat temperature on your phone. That signal that you're pressing on your phone gets sent to the hub, which sends it to the thermostat. Point of communication. Let's say the water sensor detects a leak. Where does it send that alert? It sends the alert to the hub, which sends it to you and the property staff. So for things to work seamlessly, for all the convenience involved, this needs to be on. Sure.
Does that have to be on the internet to work?
Yes, yes. Now it doesn't have to be on your internet, okay? I recommend that you put it on your internet. It has an Ethernet port or Ethernet port at the end. We'll provide a cord as well. Or you could connect it via that app to your Wi-Fi. The reason why I recommend it is because typically your home internet is much faster than cell service, right? Each one of these comes with a SIM card that we pay for and we keep up, and it has its own cell service. So it definitely works independently of your internet, But, you know, when we're thinking about 4G versus Wi-Fi, I'm one to always go for Wi-Fi because it's fast, right? So if you guys aren't comfortable with connecting it to your internet, you don't have to. It has its own that works independently.
So we connect to our internet, what's your action step? Like how frequently do you update the firmware?
That's a great question. I almost never get that question. We update our firmware, our software, our consoles, our app every 2 weeks. We're a young company. We're a startup, if you've ever heard what a startup is, right? And us being really young, we have a lot of learns, we have a lot of feedback that we take very seriously. So we tend to update it very often. We have an update schedule. It's every Friday, every other Friday. Right. No. No. It is automatically pushed to your hub for firmware hub updates. And then if you guys have the app, if you're using an Android, I believe it's the Google Play Store that you can update it at. If you're using an iPhone, the App Store, you can update it through there, right? You know, again, this is purely if you want the convenience of the app and the convenience of your property staff being able to help you guys out via work orders as efficiently as possible. I'll speak to you guys a little bit about the work orders. Your general process right now is you phone it in or you have like an online console where you create a service ticket and they come in, they pull a key, a duplicate key, they go into your apartment, they get the work order done, right? This process is a little bit more transparent of everything. It will notify you now, right? You'll know when somebody goes into your apartment. You'll know when they finish the work order, you know when they will not be able to enter your apartment anymore, right? So the lock, and I know a lot of you guys missed a portion of the lock, I'll explain it soon. Your lock has a 4-digit code for you guys. Every single lease signer will have a 4-digit code to enter your home. And those are the only codes in the door. Now, when a work order is created, there is going to be a 6-digit work order code that the maintenance member will have to enter your home, but it will only be created on the spot of the work order and then be deleted by the time the day is over, right? It's a very smart system. So for example, let's say that you have a pest issue and you want someone to come by tomorrow and deal with it, right? If you don't specify a time, then a work order will be created for tomorrow, and then it will act on business hours. Okay, so what does that mean? Typical UDR property business hour is 9 to 6. So there will be a work order code created to the lock, starting at 9, not before, and ending at 6, not after. So they can only enter your home between 9 to 6. If you're using the app, every time they enter the home, every time they put a code into the door, you will be notified. Maintenance member entered your home on work order so-and-so, right? You will be completely transparent of the process. Now let's say you do specify the time. You want them to come tomorrow between 12 to 4, all right? That work order code will be created at 12, not before, and end at 4, not after. So, you know, this is, I believe, a more secure system than the one that's currently in place. There's complete visibility, you know exactly when things are happening, and you know how, right? Any questions on the work order system, on the hub, anything like that? Yeah.
Are we still putting our work orders in the same way then? Or-
Yes, nothing on your side changes. So whatever console or online website you're using, or if you phone it in, that stays the same. All right, I know a lot of you guys came here before I started the presentation. I will be looping it over. I have a lot of food that I believe there's only been one slice eaten. Please eat my food. I cannot take all that back to the hotel. Any questions so far on anything? I went through all the products already. Any questions, any concerns?
Would that be an extra charge a month?
Great. The short answer is no, and then maybe yes. Okay? So, the question is, how much will come out of your pocket for this?
That's like a monthly payment on top of our rent.
Right. Great question. So, the immediate answer is no. This doesn't cost you guys anything. Okay? The long answer is when you renew your lease, it might make your lease a little bit more expensive. On average, we've seen a $2 bump per month for our system. Now, if you've ever renewed a lease, leases always cost more after renewal, but the money that you can save using a thermostat the right way, which I can go over again, kind of outweighs the $2 bump that you might have. Right? Great question. And to be completely transparent, I believe when you do renew your lease and there is that $2 bump, it's gonna be called like smart home maintenance fee or something like that. Completely transparent. Yep.
How secure is all this?
That's a great question. Complicated question. I can get real in depth about it, and I can just tell you that one, what information do we have, right? In this day and age, you're using Facebook and you're using all these social medias. A lot of companies have your information. So our information is pooled from the information that you gave your property when you signed your lease. So it's going to be your name, your phone number, and your email. That's all we have, right? And we have that in a server, and that server is run through Amazon. Amazon Web Services, a very popular servicing or server provider, right? So Amazon Web Services, for example, they hold all of Twitter's information. And they do it in a way called encryption. And if you don't know what encryption is, just imagine any word and then scramble it up with all different symbols and all this stuff. You will never be able to read it, right? That is encryption.
What about hackers?
What about hackers? That's a great question. So let's say someone hacks Amazon Web Services, one of the biggest companies. Right. Right. So let's say, when you hack Amazon, since they have all these companies under their services, someone has to specifically look for ours through the encryption. So hack Amazon, go into the SmartRent account, and then we have over 29,000 units live, right? And each of the units are split between many properties. So they have to hack Amazon, they have to go into the SmartRent account, they have to go into the Inlet Bay, and then they have to find your specific unit. That's a lot of different encryptions to hack. And that could take many hours. I think the effort put through that would be greater place to kicking your door open or breaking a window or something. I don't think anybody will ever put that kind of effort to hack a specific unit. Go ahead.
Are there any user interfaces on the actual device that can be distributed at all?
Great. Great. So this is technology. This is all mechanical, right? So let's take a look at the lock. This is what it looks on the outside, right? Keypad, just like that. Tampering, someone's gonna have to go around breaking it open with a hammer. It's a really thick slab of metal. I have actually seen it drilled out before. It is not easy to drill out. You need a very specific bit. If any of you guys are handy, it's called a Diablo bit. A very strong bit, diamond tipped bit, right? Expensive, very good. So we equip all our properties with one 1-inch hole saw Diablo bit, so that if the worst case scenario happens and they have to drill it out, they have the bit to do it, right? But it takes like 20 minutes for someone who knows how to drill it out. It's a very specific way. So if you want to tamper with it, you can. You might be able to break the glass, but you won't be going through the door unless you kick open the door, which with the system you guys have now, you can kick open your door. Yes?
So back to your cybersecurity posture.
Sure.
With Amazon, everything that's fine, but as far as like you guys as a company,
Mhm.
do your employees have access to that information from like their workstation, whether it's laptop or desktop?
That's a very good question. The question is yes for some. And we have a level of security in terms of who in our company can access things like that. And again, the only thing we have access to is your name, your phone number, and your email. And as a company, we erase that information every 60 days. 60 days is the number because we typically take about 3 weeks to install everything. And once we're installed, we stay in contact with a specific community to make sure everything is okay. And then after that, the community kind of runs it on their own, and we remove that information from our side of the server. Right? Great question. We don't sell information. That's not how we make money. I know that's a big thing that companies are doing now. Again, we erase your information. We don't really do anything other than, and I'll be real frank of why we need that information. Right? So you wonder how you guys will be getting your codes after installation. We put all these products in. How will you guys get your code? Let's say we install while you're at work. When you come home, you see this on your door, you don't know how to get it, right? So the reason why we have your information is because once we finish installations, once we finish the quality assurance and all the checks that we do something in our side of the system called a move-in, which basically pushes you guys through a text message and an email, your 4-digit code. So that if you're not home, you'll already have your code ready for you and you can use, right? That's the only reason we have your information. To tie a unit to your name and to give that information to you, your code, the most important part. Now, that brings me to the next really important thing. If you guys have updated your information since the last time you signed your lease, I really, really recommend that you go ahead and let the property team know so that they can update your lease with your new phone number or email, right? So our process can go pretty seamlessly. Questions? Yes?
Can we lock the door remotely, like messing with the access on hardware?
That's a great question. That's a great question. The short answer is yes. Again, I know a lot of you guys came in a little after my presentation. I'll be looping it around, and that's part of the lock presentation, okay? Any other questions, concerns?
The day of installation, if I'm home, they'll be able to give me the codes?
Yes, and still we give the code always that same way. We give you an email, we give you a text message. We personally will never see the code, and technically, to get real transparent with you, the lock creates the code. We press a button that sends a command to the lock, which creates the code, and sends it to you and no one else. You're the only person who sees your code. I think if you guys know a little bit about how the iPhone works, I like the iPhone, I like Apple, they're pretty good with security. If you ever put your fingerprint or your Face ID on an iPhone, it saves it to the phone and not on a server. So Apple never has information about your fingerprint or your face, right? It's on your phone. The code works the same way. It's in the lock. We don't have that information. Yes?
Are we gonna know when this is gonna be installed?
Yes. So our start date is the 17th. On the 17th, we probably will not be in any occupied units. We will be doing a few test units on like vacants or guests or test units. After the 17th, we figure out placements of products, how well the doors are here, if they need any kind of specific work or like custom plating or anything like that. And then after the 17th, once we get a whole report down, we will start going into occupied units. Everybody will be given a 48-hour notice before entry. And once you do get the 48-hour notice, if it doesn't work for you, please let the property staff know. And we're great with scheduling. Okay? Yes?
So when you're creating your account for the application, how do you handle, like, let two people in residence? Are you sharing an account somehow?
That's a great question. So right now, and his question was, if there are more than one person in a unit, in a residence, will you guys have to share an account, share codes, anything like that? So right now, there is gonna be an account or code per lease signer. If you're a lease signer, you will have your own code and your own access to the app. Okay? So again, you get texted the code, you get emailed the code, but you also get another email. That email would be an invitation to download our app and to set up your credentials. Your credentials with your app is your email that we have on file, and then you set up the password at that moment. At that point, you can download the app in the App Store or the Google Play Store if you have an Android phone, and log in and start using your stuff. Yes?
Couple questions. One, what if something happens to your phone?
What if something